Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you, Kieran. I'll see you back. All right. Okay, so I'm recording just for your information, but the recordings are only ever used, well, they are uploaded on my on my YouTube channel, as I mentioned before, but only to be re-imported into your Moodle. But a weird number of people look at the YouTube channel, which I can't understand. But anyway, okay. So market research, how on earth do we get genuine research to inform our sort of the marketing decisions? And have a think about this assignment. I think it's quite an interesting one because it's so topical in terms of like getting people to have this sort of dine-in experience. When we're looking at market research, it's very systematic. So marketing as a whole tends to have different disciplines. It tends to go from really creative, which is about the creation of the campaigns and the sort of really fun for sort of wacky stuff, if you like. So there's a sort of, and marketeers are called sometimes like sort of termed as like the colouring in department, and they're sort of looked down upon a bit as it being this sort of creative high expense area. However, there's also a far more sort of factual side to marketing, which is about collating information and about understanding market needs, market gaps, and then identifying what options there are available. So if we were to consider the problem and research objectives for the casual dining group, how would you describe them then? What would you want to know for the casual dining group for this assignment? What sorts of things, not necessarily just, yeah, just
who are their key sort of target audience?
Okay, yeah. So because we've got, so if we just remind ourselves, the casual dining group, it's got 3 different brands in it, hasn't it? It's got, so it's sort of got a brand and then 3 brands within the brand. So for each group, I think for each of the offerings, actually it'd be helpful, wouldn't it, to know who their target audiences are. And that's to do with segmentation. So we'll have a look at that. I think it's next week that we start to look at that. So what other things might be helpful for us to know?
How much are people willing to spend?
Very good. Yeah. And actually, what you know, this isn't market research, this is gut feeling. At the moment, people haven't been allowed out or to do anything. What's your thinking? Do you think people are going to be spending more or less when they go out?
I think a lot of people, especially when we are allowed to go out, will be able to, the weather will be better. So we'll probably be able to do like barbecues and stuff in our own private gardens.
Do you think behaviour will have changed in that way? That people,
I think it will. Yeah, I think there'll definitely be like a sort of boom where, like, because once you're allowed to do something, of course you're going to go and do it. But then, sort of, you know, a few weeks after, I think it's going to kind of settle down again because I think people are very much used to being in their own space.
Yeah, I wonder that, and I do wonder whether it's basically whether, as you say, whether it's a long-term intention or whether it's just a short-term, like, oh, thank goodness we can actually do something. Because they say that about holidays, don't they? All these places that people are going to visit, and actually a lot of people seem to have enjoyed holiday in the UK more. What do you think the challenges are around that? So if we're trying to work out, like, do you think people know, basically, do you think people know their own intentions? Like, do you think they really know what they're going to do yet? No. Because I'll tell you what, as well, we don't know whether we're going to get a third, because have you heard like about sort of having a third wave of corona? Yeah, this sort of, this isn't fake news or whatever, but yeah, there's sort of talk of a third wave, and there's talk of it being in other countries. So I think we've still got, basically, in terms of research at the moment, I think it's really difficult. I think you're absolutely right. We want to know the sort of profile of customer, and I think we also need to know, is it different to who it was before? Because actually, was our menu before created for a different type? And actually, are they the ones that are going to be more cautious about going out? I think we need to understand people's intentions to go out. Are they going to be going out less, more home dining, because that's what their new habit is? And then also, what's going on with the, like, is there potentially going to be, do you think there'll be more lockdowns after? when we're finally out of this one?
I think based on what other countries are doing, there is a potential. Like, on Italy back in a lockdown again, and in other countries. So I guess if that's what the pattern is like, then probably the same thing will happen to us.
Yeah. In the at the beginning of the first lockdown, I split up with my husband, so we're now divorced. We still live together, and I have this, and it's awful. I have this fear with these lockdowns. I'm never ever going to move away from him. I just think it feels like we're just constantly stuck, and we can't make any plans, can we? And I think this is a situation that people are feeling in. They're really cautious about making plans, aren't they? Because it's almost do you know what I mean? There's so much out. Yeah, there's so much out of our control. And actually, the last experience, what was it called? Dine out to help out. What was it? I can't remember.
Eat out to help out.
Eat out to help out. Right. I only laugh at that because I think that was very badly thought through, wasn't it? Do you think so? I think it was a good intention. It's a little bit like May Tamsin, wasn't it? Just, but it was like the worst. I think it sort of potentially made the situation worse, didn't it? And I wonder if people are nervous. I don't know. So just basically what I'm getting at with this, in a more stable environment, I think market research, this would be so straightforward, wouldn't it? You'd be like, who are their target audiences? How much they're likely to spend? How often are they going to eat out? How loyal are they going to be? And then you present it all and you sort of say, oh, we do this loyalty card, we do this type of customer, we shift our menu up in this one, make this, a bit different. Do you agree that it's going to be harder to do that now?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? But we can't do nothing because, right, so these organisations are at a point where we've got the trading volatility that we've got at the moment is so tricky that when we can open, we need to make as much money as possible, don't we? But we need to do it in a COVID secure way that doesn't lose confidence with our customers. So I think in terms of this as well, we might look at people's concerns about it, not just about frequency, but about socialization. What would make them more relaxed about doing it? Also, what's their expectation now? Because in the experiences we've had recently, if you have eaten out when we have been allowed to in the past year, you're doing it on apps now, aren't you, from your table? Tamsin, was it you who goes out with your gran, your mum and your nan?
Yeah, we sometimes go to Pizza Hut, yeah.
But you like literally you sort of order from your table, don't you, on your phone?
Yeah.
That's a very different experience, isn't it, to what we used to pay for?
Well, think if my nan went with a friend, she wouldn't be able to do it because she doesn't really know how to use a phone. But it's all right when she's with me and my mum because we know how to do it, but she doesn't know how to do it. And I think that's quite a common trend with older people.
So again, this market research process, this is what I'm thinking. Actually, this is more useful than ever because if we understand where people's sort of are at in terms of their use of technology, how we do things, is there a different way that we can do it? So it isn't necessarily on an app that we're forcing everyone down, that we have some sort of devices that people can place their orders, but they don't have to do it. Do you know, like almost like a walkie-talkie or something? It's just basically, what options do we need to give our customers? Because the thing with market research, get it right in the sense of actually listening and giving people what they want. We could really turn this business around, but we can only turn it around if they're allowed to open. So yeah, it's tricky. So I think we understand, basically, there are a number of problems, aren't there? There's things that are beyond our control, but there's also how customers' behaviours have changed, what their concerns are now, what their income is. Because I read something on the BBC on Sunday that said 15%, they're expecting 15% of Birmingham are going to be unemployed, and that's the highest it's been for so long. It's the highest in the UK. That suggests to me that people won't be eating out if they're, if you're concerned. It's a higher level need, isn't it? It's not something that you feel you have to do. So all of this, I think the problem and the research objectives are quite extensive. You've got a lot to talk about in this assignment, which actually means you can do a damn sight better than if it's almost too simple. And so the research plan can be about what I was getting at was people's attitudes or intentions. You don't know till you're in that situation. So actually, I think they're limited in terms of the findings, because actually some of it will be, it depends what successful the vaccine rollout is, how everything's purchase intention is around confidence. And this is what we need to look at, is just, how confident are people that they feel by going out they won't put themselves or their family in jeopardy. So yeah, then we go about, so we work out how we're going to collect it, which we're going to look at today, the different methods. We then collect it, we then analyse the results and present the findings, and then decide how we're going to go ahead. However, on this process, I think we might have to do it a few different times, because actually as more information is disclosed, I think at the moment we're on track for the plan, but it still might not happen that way, mightn't it? So yeah, we just need to sort of potentially do more iterative loops of research than we would have done otherwise. So we look at where we can get research from. So when Tom shares with us the secondary research, which has already been collated, which he will do at sort of midday-ish. Yeah, well, I think it was midday. I've got my plan that I will refer to. But what's the challenge with secondary research that's already been collected for our current situation?
It's out of date.
Exactly. It's out of date. God, if it's a year old or so, it's sort of so out of date, it's untrue. So it's what we could do is almost like, I think they're like barometers of how people are feeling at particular points in time. So we need to work out how we're going to get research. You cannot do primary research for this. I think we already discussed it last time, didn't we? And I said if you're going to do it, you'd need to go through ethical approval. There's no expectation of you to do it, but I think what would boost your marks would be if you were to do primary research, this is the research plan. And actually, I would suggest you do it, as I say, like do it a couple of times. So you do it at various times. And I'd keep it fairly simple, because I think it's all about people's attitudes towards going out, their intentions to go out, and actually about understanding what would make the experience one that adds value to them. So different research instruments, so this is how we're actually going to do it, and a plan, which a sampling plan is about like just having a few and seeing how we do with that before we roll it out on a bigger scale, and then how we're going to get in touch with them as well. So we're going to want to use secondary as much as we can first, but we want to get as much recent information, and the market research agencies are having a field day at the moment because obviously there's so much demand for their research to inform people's decisions. So what I'd like you to do, we've got 6 different methods here. Let me go back to Teams because I want you to look right at one of these each and do a bit of research and tell us what you can find about. So this is for market research to understand people's behaviours, their attitudes, and I'd like you to sort of just Google it, have a look at it, find out what you can find and see how could we use that for the casual dining group. So I'd like Emily, I'd like you to look at observation. Okay, so we're looking at how could it be used by the casual dining group? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? So how can it be used? Advantages, disadvantages. Jay, I want you to do ethnographic. So yeah, what is it and how can it be used? Advantages, disadvantages. Kieran, I'd like you to do, let's do Kieran and Krushma. If you don't mind doing it sort of separately, and then you can bounce, well, not that you can bounce off each other, but you know what I mean in terms of verbally focus groups. Tamsin, you're going to do the power of a survey. So how could they use it, benefits and disadvantages. Robert, can you look at what behavioural data is? Okay, and how that could be used by the casual dining group. And then my final circle is under the picture of myself, so I can't see. Right, Tom, experimentation. So how could the casual dining group use this and what are the advantages and disadvantages. Do you want me to write in the chat what I'm asking you to look at? Would that help?
I'm all right.
You're right, you got it. So what is it? Advantages and disadvantages, casual dining group. That's what we're looking at. And can we do it for, would 10 minutes be okay?
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so we'll come back a couple of minutes after 10. I'll just switch my camera and my mic off, just and then yeah, so about 2 minutes past 10, I'll ask you just to share your findings and we'll talk through these different methods. Okay.
Sorry, Hannah, was mine behavioural data?
Yeah, yours is behavioural data.
Sweet.
Okay. That's a little bit more sort of like, just for you, it's more like, what is that? How could it be used rather than, yeah, okay.
All right.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.